Returned for plenary, the proposal for state police re-emerged as the central issue on the agenda.
Do solemnly swear that I will be faithful.
The Senate President begins with the swearing-in of 4 new senators following the recent by-elections conducted by INEC. Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa of Ondo State was among dignitaries present to witness the ceremony. Moments after, attention shifts to the state police bill, with lawmakers voting to exclude governors from witnessing the proceedings from inside the chamber. The 3 governors of Ondo, Ogun and Kaduna states are subsequently allowed to stay and observe.
Plus means yes, affirmation. 0 means abstain.
The test run is indicative of a system's dysfunction, prompting the Senate's leader to move a motion for manual voting.
Or some of our colleagues whose machines are not working. I am moving that we give every distinguished senator to answer his or her father's name by doing manual voting.
The bill is considered after the Senate's leader presents the general principles as well as the submission of the report by the Deputy Senate President.
The report of the Committee on Constitutional Review on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Alteration Bill 2026 SB 1055. I so move. Flag of the Senate.
As voting commences, there is a lone dissenting vote from the senator representing Kebbi South Senatorial District, who had previously voiced his opposition to the bill. The senator subsequently exited the chamber. The bill subsequently scales second and third reading after a clause-by-clause consideration and a broad backing by lawmakers.
Be counting for count people to hear you. Count.
Of what we will also pass today is also to make sure that in those aspects of the Constitution, because I've seen 2 or 3 where it says that the president will merely write a letter and take over, or merely write a letter to no, we think that not just the president but that power must also be shared with the National Assembly.
What we are merely doing now is to see that all this pseudo state police that is created across the nooks and crannies of the country metamorphose into state police.
A key provision of the bill empowers state governors to appoint commissioners of police for their respective states, subject to confirmation by state houses of assembly. Under Clause 17 of the proposed constitutional amendment, a state police service shall be headed by a commissioner of police of the state, appointed by the governor of the state on the recommendation of the National Police Council. With the passage, the legislation replaces the existing Nigeria Police Force framework with a dual structure comprising of a federal police service and the state police services. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Well, that was the lead story on most of the headlines. Well, that is the lead story on most of the headlines of the dailies this morning. The big story from yesterday that the Senate has finally made way for the decentralization of the Nigeria Police Force as we now know it, and state authorities will now be allowed to set up their own police force. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine, even though it's raining here in the Federal Capital Territory. I'm Maukwe Oguyusu.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Kayla Megwa. Indeed, the biggest story in the country. Now, there are issues with this particular bill, and many people have been speaking up. The decentralization of the police force is one that everybody has been asking for. A lot of people have been saying this is the way to handle insecurity across this country. The states have to be involved in it. And if they have the control of the police, it will be better to manage the situation. There are fears of abuse. There are fears, of course, that many state governors will turn this into their personal army, so to speak. And then there's the bigger issue. Some people have said it is not the right thing to do to just create the same structure of the police that we have at the federal level, at the state level. That if we've done that, then we've basically shot ourselves in the foot. What kind of changes are we seeing to the structure of the police force in the state levels? And what kind of checks? Well, the amendment, our guest yesterday said he didn't want us to call it an alteration. He said he wanted us to call it an amendment. What kind of amendments have been done to this bill to be able to put our governors in check? Is there something that is in there? I looked through the thing, Mark, and it did feel like, yes, there are checks that have been put in place, but the enforcement of those checks, how do we get state governors to understand that this amount of authority, this amount of power that they've been given comes with the responsibility to not use the police force as their personal army, also not stifle opposition with the police force. And then the police force themselves, the training required for the amount of authority they're about to have among the people in the state. Do they have that? Is that being worked on? And what is going to be the future of our security situation as a result of these changes?
A lot of questions to ask, Kayla, a lot of issues to raise with it. But one thing we do know for sure is that state governors will no longer have the excuse that they are not chief security officers in their state. What a number of people will be looking to see are not state governors who are like sitting ducks in their states when security issues are happening. The issues of kidnapping, terrorism, people are hoping that they will get a handle on it. So whatever it is that happens politically, whatever this is going to cost us politically, and while we're trying to handle that, what a lot of Nigerians will be looking to see is that they are safer, at least they feel safer with regards to security in their homes, in their villages, in their communities. And I believe that this is the biggest reason why this particular amendment has now sailed through. But while we keep tabs on that particular development, the issue of the state police, and we'll be getting someone to speak on it later on in the program, let's not forget that only one senator, was very clear in his dissension on this particular matter. We'll speak to that much later as we progress in the program. But politics is also still very much on the front burner, Kayla, and I think it's for one of these reasons that we have the Labour Party here with us this morning. The politicians are always wondering, but I'm sure that they'll also have, a thing or two to say about this issue of state police. Do smaller political parties feel threatened by this development? Well, we have joining us this morning Mr. Ken Eluma-Asogwa, who is the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Kayla.
Morning.
Good morning, Nigerians.
It is good to see you. I wonder how you felt when you heard this particular news yesterday, after years and years of long debate as to whether or not we'll eventually get this state policing system. How did you feel when you heard that the Nigeria Senate has now passed this through?
I feel very elated. I felt very elated, and I commend the Nigerian Senate for this bold step. For me, it is the most consequential reform that Nigeria has taken, that has come out from the National Assembly of Nigeria since 1999, if not since 1979. The truth is that Nigeria has come of age not to centralize its policing system anymore. We are a population of about 225 million people. What we have is obsolete. We can't run it that way. I understand the fears that people express that the governors might try to abuse it, just the way they abuse the state electoral commissions. But with some institutional guardrails, I've not looked at the bill that was passed yesterday by the Senate, but I'm sure that with some institutional guardrails, we can contain the excesses of the governors. So, the most important thing is that what we have today is not working. So we could tinker with something else. If that one doesn't work too, it's a work in progress. We keep progressing. We can't just fold our arms because we feel that governors might abuse it and say that we should just centralize policing. When it's not working, it's obvious it's not working in Nigeria today.
Well, we'll see how that eventually, how that is managed, especially given our experience with the state electoral commissions, which you have highlighted. I want to believe that your party participated in the last elections in Ekiti, which just concluded. How did that go for you, and how do you feel about the readiness of the umpire as we go into 2027?
Well, we did not participate in Ekiti election.
Not even as an observer?
Yeah, we did participate as observer. We didn't because, but we didn't stand for that election for obvious reasons that, you know, we had a protracted crisis that rocked the party that lasted for almost 1 year. So when they were doing nominations for that, there was a leadership, so to speak, a vacuum within the ranks of the party. So, but all that has been sorted now. So, but we participated in other by-elections that took place across the federation. And even when we did not participate in Ekiti State, there were still some votes recorded for the Labour Party because INEC, I think it was a missed oversight on their side that they still included Labour Party in the ballot, and we still had a lot of votes that people, you know, cast for Labour Party. It shows that the party still has some good presence even when they were not on the ballot. So, but in rating the performance of the commission, the INEC, in the elections that took place last Saturday, I would say that there are some observable, you know, lapses that we saw there, and I would not want to cast the whole, you know, aspersion on the INEC. The leadership of the INEC as we have it today, you could see some sincerity of purpose. You could see someone who is trying to take INEC to the right direction. But I'm sorry to say this, the commission is peopled by people who are not, their visions are not in tandem with what the present leadership is, where he's trying to take the commission to. So I think I need to enjoin the man to look inwardly, because from me, like in Enugu North Senatorial District, for example, where I participated in that election, I observed everything that happened. You could see that, there was, INEC tried to, this man he's trying to sanitize the system, but the people you deployed to, the boots they put on ground, you see people trying to sabotage the system. And there was one thing that played out in Enugu North, for example, that was an obvious lapse on the side of INEC. The Labour Party was, literally excluded from that election, even when the election we went for was, Labour Party senator was the one that vacated that seat. He died on 18th November last year, Senator Okeza, late Senator Okeza. And we were the ones going to defend that, so to speak. And our logo was literally, our name was excluded on that ballot, in the ballot paper. And it's a complete, the Electoral Act is very clear on that the name and logo of political parties must appear on the ballot paper. I don't know if it was an oversight on the side of INEC, but speaking to the election itself, you see there were crises everywhere. Because I'm using Enugu North as a litmus test here, because that was the one I observed. And you see, someone told me yesterday that almost all the Sienna buses, in the entire of the south is emptied off in Nsukka because because of the number of thugs they imported. With more than 5,000 thugs imported into the senatorial district, and people just sat down literally, wrote results and dished it out to the public.
So that was the conduct of the political parties, not on INEC.
Yeah, like I said, but there were some collusions with some, INEC operatives. The truth is that you cannot rig an election as a political party solely without the collusion of some fifth columnists within the INEC. So, but like I said, the leadership of INEC centrally is, you see some sincerity of purpose, but the people he deploys, that's where the problem starts. So, and I need to caution him not to cocoon himself in his office and think that once he dishes out order, that the people you're sending to the field are going to carry out that order the way you have envisaged it.
So very interesting. Well, you've made a lot of complaints here, and damning complaints as well. Do you have proof of the things that you're saying? That thugs were brought in?
Like the one I told you that Labour Party was literally excluded in the election. We are already on our way to court. So. And that is where that's where the evidence will be turned back for Nigerians to see.
To see, you saw the thugs being brought in, 5,000 of them.
Yes,
I saw the buses being emptied at Nsukka.
Yes. This is an election that I witnessed. I was part and parcel of that election, and there was this air of fear everywhere. In short, as a matter of fact, the governor relocated from the seat of government in Enugu down to Nsukka. He stayed there for 2 nights.
Okay.
So you could see people who just literally try to muzzle out opposition. And to speak about Labour Party, even before the election, we issued out a statement. We were even excluded before that election. Yeah. And it took us going to court before we were reinstated. And that was something orchestrated by the man who has INEC in Enugu, not the national. And thankfully, it was the pressure that the national mounted on the man that they decided to send in our report.
So that's why you're commending INEC for including your candidate in the Enugu North senatorial body.
Yeah, we did.
Let's talk about your party, really. I saw Julius Abure recently, and it does feel like this is still ongoing. This impasse between Julius Abure-led, Nenadi Usman-led, it's still ongoing.
You saw him in a wedding?
No, we saw him on TV. He was speaking. He was speaking about the Labour Party. He was actually even talking a lot about, their plans for the future and whatnot. What's happening?
Well, I don't know, because as far as I'm concerned, Julius Abure is done and dusted. We defeated him at the Court of Appeal.
Just had a press statement a few days ago where they were talking about, and I saw a large gathering of people who say they are members of the Labour Party, and they were talking about how this is really unfortunate for them and how they still have their candidates going. They're still planning towards an election.
Obiora Ifo,
Obiora
Ifo, Julius Abure, Kennedy Ahanotu, the trio, they are on the run. The Nigerian police, they are looking for them.
And they were not on the run. I saw them on TV.
No. What I'm telling you, I don't know whether he saw him there live. I don't know. Anybody even people who are being looked for, they can walk into anywhere until the police gets them. But what I'm saying here is that Julius Abure, there is an impersonation going on here. Like I told you, in April, he lost at the Court of Appeal. And as I speak to you, there is no pending appeal at the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Other than what he said that he was going on appeal, there is no pending appeal against Nenadi Usman's leadership of the party. So, on what basis is this running around and parading himself as national chairman and Obiora for issuing statements as national public secretary of the Labour Party? On what basis? We have lost at the Court of Appeal. You didn't go on appeal. INEC has said that this is who we know as the leader of the party. So on what basis are you confusing people? So as far as we know, we've gone beyond that stage. We are talking about how where Labour Party intends to take Nigeria to 2027. For me, Julius Abure is a forgotten issue.
Just so we're clear, on the INEC portal, who's the national chairman of your party?
It is Nenadi Usman.
Who's your presidential candidate?
Dr. Chibuzo Okereke.
Dr. Chibuzo Okereke.
Yeah.
Let me also come in here in terms of, the Labour Party and, its preparation. Maybe not just the Labour Party. There was a by-election which happened last week. You have serious complaints about it. And sometimes I wonder, though, do you think it's really necessary for us to... This is just a by-the-way question. Do you really think that by-elections are necessary when we maintain in our country that it is political parties that win elections?
Well, are you saying whether the by-elections are necessary or whether putting political parties as winner of elections, whether it is necessary to have political parties or whether
if we say, for instance, that a political party is the one that has won an election, and the person who's occupying that seat dies as a result of whatever happens, the person is no longer available to fill that seat, do you think that we should be conducting elections to fill the seat, or don't you think that since it's the party that won, the party should perhaps produce someone, or maybe the person who came second runner-up in the previous election or first runner-up should just fill the position?
Well, I understand where you're going. The truth is that it's almost like a contradiction to say that it is party that wins the election. And at the same time, when the flag bearer of the party, maybe when he wins and dies, and you'll be required to go for an election, and that person went through a process of nomination by the party, ideally, the person that came second should have even been sworn in. But the truth is that the natural thing that should happen is that people must go to ballots to be elected by the people. So this is my own personal opinion now, if someone who is holding a public office dies, I expect that there should be a by-election. You should present the candidates for people to vote. That is why I frown at always people, Nigerian court declaring people winners of elections. People who did not participate in an election, we participated and the people did not vote for you. Then it shouldn't, the court has no reason whatsoever.
So in every single situation, the person must, another election must be conducted. It shouldn't be like, how we have governors. Governors always have deputies, and should anything happen to a governor or a president, as the case might be, it is automatic that the deputy fills the slot. There is no need to conduct any such thing again.
The reason why the deputy does not need to stand for a fresh election to go in when the governor died,
deputy was on the same ticket.
Yes, he was on the same ticket and he was elected. The people looked at the ticket and said, okay, you have a good deputy and you are qualified.
Do we really look at the deputies, in all honesty? Let's be very frank with ourselves. Do we really look at the deputies in Nigeria, or we're looking at the main person? Maybe for the presidency, deputies are hugely significant to the victory that a candidate eventually secures. But in many governorship seats, do we really look at that? I'm just wondering if it's something that we should take a second look at.
Well, on paper, yeah, on paper we do. But I understand what you're saying. In practice, people really do not really look at who your deputy is in most cases. But in some places, you still have people field deputies that they think are bringing something on board. So I think it's a mixed bag of what people think.
Well, it's an aside question. I was just wondering whether you think it's something that we should take a second look at. But given what you have now experienced in these elections, what are some of the things that you would want us to guard against as we go into 2027? Do you have, things that you want to tell the political class? Because it's not INEC who imported these dogs. These hyenas that you allege were finished in Nsukka. We're not available in Nsukka. We do not know what is going to be the scale, come 2027, especially when we know that the security agencies are going to be spread thin. And you also said, well, you also had an eye on Ekiti, even though you didn't field any candidates there. Are there any things that your party has observed that you would like us to pay particular attention to as we go into 2027?
Is the security of, policing of votes and security. I saw something that happened in Ekiti election where even the EFCC officials were literally chased out. So, I think...
You saw it?
No, I mean, I read that already, sorry. I read that in the papers that EFCC complained that their operatives who tried to go to certain polling units were chased out by people who came there to rig elections, to buy votes. So I think EFCC should be given greater roles in elections. This can be captured in the Electoral Act, because the truth is that vote buying has come to stay in Nigeria if nothing is done to checkmate it. It's a new normal now that we are living with. And laws are made to confront challenges in society. So if we have identified vote buying as the major problem we are having now in election, thuggery is almost becoming, it's almost receding. The new one they've introduced is vote buying. And if that is the case, and we have an anti-corruption watchdog that is, prepared to do that, we should, give them some greater roles, statutorily captured in the Electoral Act that they can play some roles during the election. So, and it's not late. We still have about 6 months to this election. So this 2026 Electoral Act can still go back. The people who passed it within 48 hours the last time can still pass a new one within 12 hours to get it signed by the president. So that is on the one side. Then I think the Nigerian politicians need to reform themselves, because no matter how INEC tries to conduct transparent elections, as long as politicians, keep indulging in all this brigandage, it will be difficult for INEC rather, to deliver a transparent process, no matter what they try to do.
Well, just so we can update the people who are watching us right now, Mr. Abure just sent a message. He says he wants a right of reply because he wants to be able to respond to what you said about him being on the run and the Labour Party under the Abure leadership.
I don't know what he means.
So he's saying that he wants the right of reply.
Well, I don't know what he means by right of reply.
But
I am aware that the police are investigating a petition by the Labour Party about the invasion of the party secretariat by that group. I am aware that police, they are investigating acts of impersonation by people who come out on TVs, on newspapers to say that they are National Police Secretary of Labour Party when they are not.
In any case,
who are claiming
just
to
hold
leadership positions in the party when they are not holding anyone.
Well, just for Mr. Abure, who's watching us right now, you do have the right to come here. We'll be inviting you over so you can give your own side of the story as well, so we can balance out this conversation.
And I hope the day he will be coming will be made public, so that the police will come here to pick him.
He's going to have to respond to you on that one. So just generally. And another thing, your national chairman, Nenadi Usman, I can't remember the last time I saw her. We need to see her talk more to the to the media. What's going on there?
She does. It's just that every political party now, I can agree with me that every political party now is so busy with political party internal activities of the party, beginning
but we're seeing even the APC national chairman, even the PDP, we're seeing a lot of them talking. But we hardly ever see her come out.
She's
the last time I saw her on TV was here.
And
it was last year.
After Channels TV, she's been on Arise, she's been on TVC and other television houses.
Well, we're extending an invitation to her. We would really like to have her.
I'm sure she's listening to it. She's watching this program, yes. and that is really extended.
Yeah. So in the build-up to 2027, do you think your house is going to be in order?
The house is already in order. You see, I think I have a bone to pick with the way media tries to amplify the activities of these guys. The house is in order. If people lay claims, attach appellations to their names, we shouldn't have to validate it. These people are non-existent as far as I'm concerned. The Labour Party has moved on. Like I said, all the institutions of democracy we have in Nigeria, they've recognized our leadership. So where are they coming from? So if someone sits in comfort of his room to say, I'm the national chairman of the Labour Party, we shouldn't help that person to validate that claim.
I see what you mean, but usually what we see, most parties say, and I think it was a bit of that was in your statement after you won at the Court of Appeal, was that you would like to reconcile everybody. You're extending an arm of friendship and fellowship, and
And we did, and a couple of them, came back to the mainstream leadership of the party, but some few renegades decided to stay back.
Fair enough. Well, we'll keep tabs with your party, and we'll see how prepared you get as we move towards the 2027 elections. Hopefully, we'll also hear from your presidential candidate and what his plans are for the 2027 elections and the Nigerian electorate. But we have to thank you very much for coming on the program this morning. Mr. Ken Eluma-Sogwa is the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you.
We take a break this morning, and when we come back, we'll be speaking with Laulu Akonde, who joins us all the way from the United States. When we come back from this break.